To battle!
I want to see those Autobots squirm! Starscream has managed to decipher some of the ancient data files. He claims there's a geosynchronous space bridge hidden deep in the planet's core.
You verified this information?
Yes, Megatron. The ancients channeled power directly from Cybertron's core to Decepticons station. If we can restore that link, we'll have all the power we need to manufacture the Dark Energon.
Then it would seem you have proven yourself valuable after all, Starscream.
I assure you, Megatron, that despite our differences, I live only to serve the Decepticon cause.
Then you shall have your chance. Locate the space bridge and determine how we can reignite this connection to Decepticon.
Huh. I can't tell if I'm relieved or annoyed that Starscream isn't gonna legitimately back us up in this mission. On the one hand, I wouldn't mind having a mission or two where we get a sense that we're actually part of an army. On the other hand, Starscream really isn't someone you want watching your back. That would be just asking for things to go horribly wrong. There are so many possible ways that Starscream could screw the proverbial pooch that I'm not even entirely comfortable with him directing traffic. I've seen two versions of him that I'd call competent. One which had an ego that made him try to fight the Transformers equivalent of a god. The other had such horrifically bad luck that anything that could go wrong with his damn good plan would. Immediately. Every other version of Starscream I can think of either was comedy relief or just another dumbass who couldn't back up his talk. Granted, there have been a number of Starscream variants over the years, and some have blended together a little in my head. Still, whenever he's running an operation, 9 times out of 10 it ends in abject failure. And while occasionally the failure isn't his fault, that kind of average doesn't make me feel too good about what's going to happen in this mission. Okay, less thinking about how things could go wrong, especially since Starscream is technically in charge of this mission, and more trying to activate the Energon bridge. For some reason, you can't hurt these slugs at all when they have their shield up. And I don't think there are any other enemy types that have something like that. Why give something like that to a minor annoyance instead of a legitimate threat? It's not like it makes them more threatening. Great. A jumping puzzle. Well, I know exactly how to make this trivial as all hell. Still, may as well see if there's anything to grab along the way. While this doesn't seem like the kind of game to pull it, it would be pretty embarrassing if I missed an important item for the sake of skipping an annoying platforming section. Besides, this seems pretty short compared to the jumping section in the second mission. At the very least, there are more enemies to kill along the way as well. I'm not too sure why we weren't introduced to this kind of turret. Everything else we've seen so far has had an introduction of one kind or another. While it could be that they didn't want to make a big deal about a slightly altered turret design, the fact that they felt the need to introduce the bug swarms make the lack of intro to this new turret strange. Oh, by the way, some of these things that are shooting can't be destroyed. They're just holes in the wall that shoot plasma bolts in a single, unerring direction. They always fire in the same intervals and never adjust their aim. All in all, a very questionable defensive emplacement. There doesn't seem to be anything here worth grabbing, so time to move on. Nothing here either. Maybe I should have just flown to our objective. Nah. The experience we gained by killing every enemy in our path made this worth it. Besides, things are interesting enough at this point that there's no need to rush. Kinda curious where this place is supposed to be. Kinda looks like it's in the middle of a city. Not that locations seem to matter much in this game. I think the previous mission showed they'll make the levels however the hell they please, regardless of how plausible it would be in the location they claim it's in. Granted, if you tried to make more plausible missions in a game with these kinds of graphics, it wouldn't be all that interesting. I should probably be glad they make as much visual sense as they do. I could easily imagine a more creative group of level designers going a little crazy and making a mission feel more like an LSD-inspired what the fuck. I haven't seen too many games that have that kind of level design since we moved on from the NES, but who knows? Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough. Ah, 2 paths have opened up before us. I think I'll take the simpler, more violent path. And I assume Skywarp and Brawl appreciate the fact that they can rip through even more Autobots. First things first, though, we've got to deal with this pest problem. Really wish I could upgrade Skywarp's endurance somehow. He just doesn't have the stamina to take on more than 2 enemies who can fight back. It doesn't help that I haven't perfected the timing in switching between characters. That's gonna give me trouble in the last mission of the game. Of course, I have to make it to the last mission to have trouble with it. Good, just the slug left. Kind of wish that Skywarp was conscious right now. His melee weapon would be perfect against this little bastard. This is going to take a little longer than it probably should. Considering how many enemies are weak to plasma attacks, maybe I should have made sure my more endurant character had a plasma attack of one kind or another. It's something worth remembering when we'll probably have to change this team. But that won't be until we reach a major trouble spot in the last mission, so it's a decent distance away. Oh, hell. Well, on the plus side, those grenade turrets can only shoot so far. The bad news is that it can send you flying with every shot, making you incapable of shooting back. And if you get caught in a corner that's in a grenade turret's range, then I hope you've got insurance, because you're only getting out of there in pieces. These are the sort of things you need more warning about simply because they look too much like the other 2 negligible turret types for you to tell at a glance. Well, at least I can't. And since I can only tell it's a grenade turret when it begins shooting, yeah. There's a spot or 2 in this game where they'll really do some damage. Still, they're our first major threat outside of a boss fight in this game, so part of me actually likes them. If they're weak to plasma shots, though, it would have to be a very unique set of circumstances that tempt me to get up close to one of those things with Skyward. Yeesh! Talk about your close quarters! Not that we need any room to maneuver to deal with one of these guys, but damn! I hope there aren't many more enemies in tight spaces like this. I didn't even have enough room to reach back and scratch an itch on the back of my head. Don't ask why someone who's essentially made of metal at the moment has an itch. Doesn't make much sense to me either. Besides, right now we have other concerns. Skywarp just doesn't have the armor to deal with these guys until Brawl takes out a few. And even then, it's gonna be a little close. I kinda prefer both of these bastards for what's coming when we open the door. Bloody hell! That could have easily gone bad. And frankly, we didn't have any options that could have made that fight a little easier. Anyway, time to destroy these 2 little generators. Kind of a bad door design when it needs a constant flow of energy just to stay shut. Even worse when you put both generators on the same side of the door. We really want the room clear when that door opens, because the most annoying enemy type is gonna be introduced the moment it opens. And I don't want to have to go through this entire segment of the mission again, just because of this one bastard. These guys are well armored, hit very hard, and are pretty damn fast. Strafing around their shots doesn't work so well because the shots come too fast, and they can shoot at us from a longer range than we can lock onto them. They're very frustrating to deal with in the best of circumstances, and if there are any other enemies nearby when you're fighting them, then things can really easily start going to shit. Especially if there are two of them right next to each other. I'm just glad they can't heal like we do, otherwise they'd be frustrating enough to say to hell with this game. I know I've been saying I'd like more combat-related challenges in this game, but considering the lack of options we have, that particular type of enemy is pushing it. And, of course, we have to deal with another right through this door. Skywarp is basically useless against these things. Even when one of these guys is weak to lasers or plasma, Skywarp just doesn't have the armor to finish a fight against one of these. Hell, I don't think any character type that isn't a heavyweight like Brawl or Megatron can consistently kill them. When something essentially screws over 2/3 of the characters the players can choose from, and you don't have a character type rock, paper, scissors-esque mechanic, then the gameplay could have used some more tweaking. Those tanks just about always have a weakness to ballistics damage, and almost always have a shield that's weak to ballistics in front of that. And they're generally pretty weak, so it isn't like shooting them with something other than their weakness will slow you down much. Still, it's better to try killing them as quickly as possible, if only so you can move on a little faster. Speaking of moving on, feels like a good time to transform and roll out. Okay, I'm not even sure that wall collapsed in the right direction. Not that it matters much at this point. We got 2 switches to activate. Think I'll take the one to the left first. Just let me deal with this bug hive first. Sudden thought. Megatron was telling us where to go when we started this piece of the mission, right? Well, last time I checked, wasn't Starscream supposed to be the one giving us directions and orders in this mission? After all, he's the bloody one who's right here, in this complex. I mean, sure, he said he was there to prevent us from being attacked from behind, but why wouldn't he at least contact us once in a while? It's pretty basic stuff here. If you've got a major character lurking about in a mission, they shouldn't be left forgotten in some distant corner of the map. Seriously, considering how they managed to make the tutorial mission in this game feel pretty alive with Dirge at our side for a good amount of it, why don't they do something similar in later missions? I'm not asking for an ally to kick copious amounts of enemy ass and relieve us of some of this pressure. I'm just asking for some sense that we aren't essentially isolated from the rest of the Decepticon army. Hell, I don't even have the sense that we're part of a small squad of troops. It just feels like we're the only ones who ever fight anything, and everyone else just watches us struggle against the enemy. And when I start thinking that characters like Megatron and Soundwave are just eating popcorn in front of a screen while less impressive Decepticons like Brawl and Skywarp risk life and limb again and again, then someone screwed up. And no, switching around who's on this team isn't going to solve the problem that the Decepticons seem to be putting minimal resources into major pieces of their operations. Hell, for a good amount of the 360 game, I was complaining about this very issue. Just because our team is the main focus of the camera doesn't mean there shouldn't be some sense that other things are going on. We're in the middle of a war after all, and it's kinda sad that the tutorial mission in this game was the only one that made me feel like we aren't the only ones fighting against the Autobots. I've probably complained about that too much in this LP, and will likely complain about it again when we reach the Autobot handheld game. It's just something that bothers me when war is part of the title of the game and we're clearly seeing that they can pull it off to one degree or another. Oh, bloody hell! Good thing I haven't switched yet. Okay, Skywarp, your turn. Let's wreck these bastards. Well, that was surprisingly easy considering what was here. Kinda making me nervous of what we'll face later in this mission though. Sure, there's only 5 minutes left to the mission, but the average mission for this game is around 20 minutes long and there's only 8 missions in all. So, since we're pretty close to the halfway point, the difficulty is probably going to ramp up real quick. While I remember the last mission in the game can be kind of a bitch if you're unprepared, I don't remember how tough things are before that mission. Hell, kind of feels like I'm being pushed as much as I can be in this game already, which is kind of worrying. Still, they aren't throwing half a dozen grenade turrets at us just yet. Maybe I'm just underestimating myself. Fighting in this game does tend to be pretty quick and vicious, so by the time you figure out you're doing badly in a fight, it's generally too late to do anything about it. Hell, I can't even say much during the more difficult skirmishes simply because by the time I say it, it's very likely already been decided. I've had to come up with a good deal of commentary that has little to do with the actual fighting on screen, and hopefully all of it has been pretty relevant. I think we could go forward at this point, but I'd rather take out every enemy in every area we go through just to be thorough. Hell, I tend to do that in just about every game I play. It's just in this one, we get experience points for our trouble. We're probably going to get into a boss fight soon enough. Wonder who it'll be against.
A real Decepticon doesn't need backup.
Huh. I was expecting someone to burst out through that door. Great, now I'm starting to feel nervous. 2 enemies, and we can't see them yet. Which annoying flying type are we dealing with here? Shit! The type that Skywarp can't handle! Damn near lost Skywarp right there. Still, better nearly lost than actually lost. This encounter is going a good deal better than I expected. Probably because we're only dealing with one of the bastards at a time. Anyway, based on how much longer this mission is, I guess we don't have a boss fight in this one. Strange. Unless it's someone so pathetic they go down in less than a minute like poor Jetfire did. Still, I can't believe they made Jetfire so easy to take down. I mean, I know he was a boss in a tutorial mission, but still, that kind of stung a bit. Okay, so that's it for this mission. Somehow feels like an abrupt ending with a boss fight in this game. Wonder why they didn't have one. The Autobots certainly have enough named guys that it could have been done. Still, there's no way this mission's going by without something going wrong somewhere. What kind of latent defenses, Soundwave? Are we talking computer programs slowing down our progress? Slugs the size of Mothra in our path? I'd kinda like some details here. What's your angle here, Starscream? And why weren't you more helpful in this mission? Ah, now it makes sense. Starscream probably made sure this route would be a bust so he could gain points by suggesting an alternate route. Clever, but risky for him.